Hey everybody, it's time once again for the Podpadopoulos cast, the weekly podcast where we leap without taking a look at a new episode of Webster. I'm your host Caliban, and joining me as always, the ma'am to my George, my co-host Mikan Hana.
Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
It is great to have you here again. And actually, before we get started, I have to say, as I seem to have to say every show now for the last year or so, this is a show about the sitcom Webster that ran on ABC from 1983 to 1987, and then in first-run syndication from 87 to 89. It's not about the former Donald Trump foreign affairs advisor who was convicted of lying to the FBI during the Russia investigation. Why would we even do a show about that?
I have no idea.
We get some of the weirdest comments on Twitter. But anyway, yes. This is a show, a podcast about Webster, the amazing, groundbreaking sitcom starring Emmanuel Lewis as the title character, the orphaned boy, Webster Long, and Susan Clark and Alex Karras as Katherine and George Papadopoulos.
That's right.
The couple that adopts him.
Yes.
And this is an exciting episode for us. It's also a sad episode for us.
It really is.
It's kind of bittersweet. This is the series finale of Webster. I can hardly believe it.
I'm kind of tearing up just thinking about it.
Don't. You start, I'll start. And then we're both
I know, and then we'll just never stop.
Totally out there. We will drown this place like the Papadopoulos' house when they had a flood in the basement.
Right.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that episode. That was last week.
Right.
We're talking about this episode, which is, 6 seasons, 149 episodes up to this point.
Yes.
We've covered them all. And today, on the last episode
150
of the Podpadopoulos cast, we finally get to see the series finale of Webster, episode 150, Webtrek. I can't believe it.
I know. It's just been such a long and rewarding road. I just can't even imagine what this episode is going to be like. It's it's the ultimate episode.
Yeah,
it's not
penultimate was the last
You're
week.
right.
It was the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward.
It's been such a journey.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we get to say goodbye to these characters.
I know. I can't even imagine how we're going to do it. And we'll talk
can't
about
either.
our speculations in a little bit.
Okay.
But you're right. It has been such a long journey. It doesn't feel long, though. I mean, it's just flashed by.
It really has.
And so warm, and just every episode of this show. That's why we're doing this. We want people to know about it and just get it out there. People of a certain age. I don't want to age myself here.
No, of course
people
not.
of a certain age are familiar with this show.
Yeah.
But I feel like it hasn't had the same sort of impact with, I don't want to blame it on millennials. Millennials aren't killing Webster.
No.
Blame it on younger people who haven't had a chance to really interface with this. You know, it's out there. You can see it on MeTV. But it hasn't had the kind of impact. And so that's why we wanted to talk about it, just to reiterate our mission statement. Just talk about this show, get it out there, the sort of warm, family-based comedy that you just don't see these days.
No, you really don't.
And I don't have anything against the magicians. Oh, we've got magic.
Right.
We're sexy magicians or something like that. That's fine. But this is just something from an earlier era, you know? I don't want to say it's comfort food, but it is kind of comfort food. I mean, not that, Katherine can make any food.
No,
we know
clearly
this about
not.
her, but
no.
Remember the episode that she went on the cooking show, the cooking contest?
Yes.
That didn't go too well.
No.
I've never seen this episode. I've kind of been afraid to watch it. You know, as we've been going through, we've been seeing these week by week. A lot of these I saw when I was younger. A lot of them I picked up on my own. But it's hard to see every episode of a show, especially if there's 150 episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've kind of been putting it off. I've been afraid to watch it. I mean, it's the last episode ever of Webster.
I know.
It's my favorite show. You know, it's hard to face. I feel kind of like Webster in episode 5. You know, way back in the beginning. You know, Saying Goodbye was the episode.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorites.
George and Mam have to explain to him that his parents are dead. He doesn't understand it. He just thinks that they've gone away. He's just this 5-year-old little kid.
Yeah.
And having to see him face that, you know, like we said, this is a show that's a lot of fun. And what's Jerry up to? And what's Papadopoulos doing? But it's also confronting these issues, like kids learning about death. You know, he couldn't wrap his head around it.
I cried so much on that episode.
Yeah, it's rough. And we'll
is
talk about
rough.
some of our favorite episodes in just a little bit. But like Webb, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the fact that we've made it through 6 seasons and 149 episodes of Webster. And now we're at 150 and it's almost over.
It's crazy. I mean, we've watched Webb grow up, you know, throughout the series.
Well, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It never got too big. But.
No. Which I feel kind of bad about, you know, like we don't really... Emmanuel Lewis hasn't really talked about it. And
I mean, we talked about this, you know, in our opener for the start of season 6, is that part of the frustration with, and part of what led ultimately to the show not going on was Emmanuel Lewis's frustration with
playing
being a kid
so much younger than he actually is.
Yeah, literally graduating from high school, and he's still playing a young child, which he does immaculately. I mean, I know his physicality helps, but he's just somebody who you just believe that he is this sweet, guileless, kid.
He's just got the greatest smile.
Yes.
I mean, just would win anybody over.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not, it's not Emmanuel Lewis's fault. I sympathize with him.
Yes.
But at least they gave us 6 solid years of this great show.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll get to the episode that we're going to talk about, Webtrek, in a little bit. But first, I thought it might be fun to take a look at where we've been and talk about our top 5 Webster comments.
Yes.
So we could do top 10. We could do top 100. But, we'd be here all day.
Yeah.
That'd be a whole nother show. So, Webb was 5 years old when he came to live with George and Katherine. So that's what we'll go with. Let's take 5. So what are your top 5 Webster moments? They don't have to be in particular numerical order. Mine are from 5 to 1, but that's just me.
Mine are actually in order. And I guess I just kind of picked from like the earlier seasons. I don't know. They just really got to me.
Yeah. We always remember our first Webster.
Yeah, exactly. And one that you actually already mentioned, saying goodbye. That was my one of my first choice. Yeah. He just his performance in that is just so great, and it just pulls at your heartstrings.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
The way that he and then he was, what was he, about like 10 or 11 at that
something
point.
like that.
The way that he can just, you see his heart break. But the way that even a child that young and precocious, in the best way, can just show that without having to go, oh no, ma'am, why? The way that he can just live in that moment, even as a young actor. And the director, Zwick, he knows what he's doing. Like, he keeps it on Emmanuel Lewis.
Yes.
They picked him up and carried him to the set that day and put him in his mark. And he knows how to embody that, and we see those emotions go through. We see him lose his parents all over again.
Yes.
And we get a little more, I don't want to take your thing. This isn't one of mine. I could do a million of them. But
I know.
We do get a little more background later on in that season, in the episode Travis, which I believe is episode 9, where we actually find out the reason why Travis and Gert Long decided to leave Webster to the Papadopoulos, to George.
Right.
But you can go back in our archives for that one. Way back. The show format was completely different. But you can find it back in our archives. Here's my number 5. It's episode 144. Pretty late in the game. Ticket to Ride. And I'll tell you why. This is the episode, of course, where Webster gets his bike and he's tooling around town and he gets a ticket from a cop.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
And this is an episode, it's, about mistaken identity, but in a lot of ways it's about profiling. It's about racial profiling.
Yeah, it really is.
If he was Rob, if he was a white kid, he would not have gotten that ticket.
Yeah.
And this is in 1989. Now, Fresh Prince, of course, did their famous episode in 1990, Mistaken Identity, about Will and Carlton getting pulled over on their way to Palm Beach.
Right.
Right, in the Mercedes. They beat him by a year.
Yeah.
Already this was on their minds. This is a fun, warm family show, and yet they are still tackling these. I mean, Ben Vereen's on the show. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
They understood this. They wanted this racial element, and I think it's just so forward thinking.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, they basically, you're welcome, Fresh Prince, for your entire show. You can thank Webster for that.
Yes.
What's your number 4?
Number 4 for me is the Uncle Philip episode. The first time we see Uncle Philip. Mm-hmm. This is
not the first time we see Ben Vereen.
No, this is actually Ben Vereen's second time.
Right.
Because he played himself the first time in That's Entertainment.
A little bit confusing.
Yeah, it is a little bit confusing. But I really feel for him that moment when George accuses him of being a junkie because he found a syringe in the bathroom that one time.
Right.
And then he pulls out his diabetes kit and there's the syringe in there.
Right.
And it's like, I'm just trying to live. And it's like,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Check yourself, George.
Yeah, exactly. And then
you just got wrecked.
I know.
Yeah.
But here's the weird kind of dissonance with this. It's like he seems like he's okay with him after that. George is like, oh, he's not a junkie, he just has diabetes. I guess I'm okay with him. But supposedly he wasn't really there for Travis.
Uncle Philip's a complicated character.
Yeah, exactly. So is George really okay with him now, or is he still kind of wary of him?
Yeah, well, he has to be. I mean, that's part of the depth of the character in presenting him as somebody who, and that's what's so great about. I'm trying to remember exactly who wrote that. It's probably the Sunshines, but having a character like that where he will become something of an adversary, especially at the end of season 1, where he is trying to win custody of Webster. But we see him immediately. We think Ben Vereen. It's Ben Vereen. Like, this is like the nicest, it's Mr. Entertainment.
Yeah.
And he comes on, but we got to give us a little bit of, I don't know about this guy. And then, oh no, our problems, our concerns are assuaged here.
Right.
But there is a problem here. Right. And it is that, Uncle Philip is a little flighty and he's a little grabby.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Webster should live with him, on the south side of Chicago. And the Papadopoulos are against this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that is...
Perhaps with good reason, because, Uncle Philip... He's
a great guy. He's very talented.
Yes.
Not a stable household.
No, and he even in the episode Uncle Philip, he even talks to Webster one-on-one, and he tells him he's like a gypsy, and he's like,
well,
do you know what a gypsy is?
1983, we would say gypsy.
I know.
Right.
It's not necessarily stereotypically correct anymore.
Yeah.
But he basically explained to Webster that he has to go wherever the show is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that in order to pay his bills. And Webster so cutely says, "You can have my money. You can stay in my room."
Right.
Doesn't work that way, Web.
Sleep
Sorry.
on my bear. Yeah. But it's hard to. I mean, we get a lot of fantasy episodes, as the show goes on, especially in season 6. There's a lot of Webster daydreams. We get to get out of the apartment or of the house a little more. But I would have liked to have seen one where Webster imagines what it would be like to go on the road with
Uncle Philip.
Uncle Philip, if he took that path, because he's quite the little singer and dancer himself.
He is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you my number 4. We got to keep going here.
Sure.
My number 4 is episode 135, Heaven. This is, of course, when Webster's turtle dies.
Oh, yes.
And when his friend tells him that the turtle won't be in heaven.
Yeah, that's kind of mean, don't you think?
Yeah. And it's the
That's
sort of
really
thing,
harsh thing to say.
I know this is a show that tackles racial politics. It tackles, parenting and surrogate parenting. And many, many times it tackles religion. But for me, this is the most cutting one. This is even better, in my opinion, than episode 31, God Bless the Child, where, Webster is angry. He's angry at God.
Yeah.
When we have to face again the fact that,
his parents are
gone.
dead.
Yeah. And the fact that in this episode, Heaven, like, he's being confronted by this idea. Now, this kid, who is this kid? John the Baptist? He doesn't know who's going to be in heaven. He doesn't know what it's like.
Mm-mm.
But it's tackling this sort of racial, we were already doing that, this religious tension, that comes between, I believe this, I believe that. And in America, we're supposed to respect everybody's beliefs. And we see this in microcosm, because he's small. It's Webster. I'm not going to be able to make those jokes anymore.
I
it's
know.
the last episode. I got to get them all out. But we see him really face down that, and ultimately come to his own kind of conclusion about what's going to happen in heaven when we die, that he's happy with. But we just see him grow by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, we do.
What
Definitely.
about your number 3?
My number 3 is actually season 2, episode 5 of that season. Burnout, when he accidentally burns his apartment down.
Sure, that's a classic one.
Yeah, that's a very special episode of Webster.
Yeah, it is. It's really, I mean, is there something particular that really, because I can think of something that got me.
Well, he didn't do it intentionally, but he played with the chemistry set after Katherine and George told him not to.
Right.
And
although George was kind of gassing him up on it, though.
A little bit, yeah. And it caught fire in his closet, and he knew that he started it, but he didn't know how to tell Katherine and George.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the episode, Katherine talks about how there was a little girl who wanted to know.
This is where I thought we were going.
Yeah.
This
who wanted
is a weird
to know what was down below the elevator shaft in an apartment building.
Right.
So she lit a match.
Right.
And she's telling the story like it's just some random little girl, and then Webster
because
was
the
like,
elevator shaft was open for. Maybe they were working on it. I can't
know.
remember what it was, and what were these camping matches?
Yeah, I have no idea.
How do you light a match and throw it 3 stories down an
know.
elevator shaft and it's still lit?
I know. And then like Webster was like, was the little girl okay? And she was like, I was, Web, I was,
Yep.
And like she starts crying and she's comforting him, and it's like she's like never told anybody this.
Yeah.
So like she's lived
powerful.
with that
Yeah.
for her entire life. She didn't tell anybody that she started that fire.
Which is probably good. I think she might be wanted for arson.
Yes.
It does seem...
Which is not funny. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing.
It's not. It's not. But it's probably better that the show didn't follow up on that. Maybe if there was a season 7, it would have been knock, knock, knock on the door.
Right.
Are you Katherine, now
Papadopoulos. Yes.
That was a good one. Of course, maybe you're thinking about that because, of course, our trivia question from last week is about burnout, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yep.
So going through the list here, number 3, my number 3 pick is episode 85, Kiss Me, Kate. This is the one, if you remember, where George's friend, his former teammate, makes a pass at Katherine, and it's more than a pass. Like he grabs her, he waits until George is out of the house and essentially assaults her, and Webster sees it all. And I remember this specifically, seeing this one first run when I was a child, and this having an effect on me and making me really wonder, how men are supposed to relate to women and respect women. And it's really like a pillar of, what I think is, hopefully I'm respectful to women, but I think back to this sometimes,
right?
How scared Katherine was, and how scared Webster was, and how this jerk just kind of ruined everything.
Yeah, he was a real jerk about it.
In a lot of ways, it reminds me a lot of episode 38, the uh-oh feeling.
Oh yeah,
and the same thing.
Another very special episode.
Yeah, well, they're all special episodes.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
Where Webster, his friend is being molested essentially by this teacher, and so having that same sort of, I feel like I've seen something adult. I feel like I don't understand. And even as a child, you think, do I say something? Do I do something?
Right.
Is it even my business?
What can I do?
Yeah.
What can I say to change this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Make it better.
I should have mentioned that Emmanuel Lewis is a great guy, of course. He still is.
Yes.
And he does a lot of charity work.
Yes,
we've
he
talked about
does.
it before. I want to remind people that he works specifically with the Dreamcatcher Charitable Foundation, which provides support and addresses situations and problems unique to First Nation communities.
Yes.
So check him out at dcfund.ca.
And he specifically, the charity specifically is aimed to help the elderly and young kids.
Yes.
So it's a really great organization. Emmanuel Lewis just continuing to do great work.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Give me a number 2.
My number 2 is Moving On, season 2, episode 6. So this is the one right after Burnout.
Yep.
And they go to look at this house to rent it, and
it's a little weird.
It is a little weird. They walk in and there's nobody there, and George ultimately just wants to leave.
Yeah.
He wants to leave right away. But then we kind of get our first glimpse of the Parkers, who, I love.
Yeah.
I'm big fan of the Parkers. And we get to see Cassie and Bill, and they're introduced in the intro for this episode.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, who are these new characters?
We got new cast members.
I know.
Yep.
And we don't see Jerry in the opening credits anymore.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, he still pops up.
He's still around.
Yeah.
But
call your agent.
Right.
Jerry.
Right. But it was really great to see the Parkers, and then it was really kind of creepy, weird house in a way, because Emmanuel Lewis, Webb, he's like, oh, I want to go on the swings. Can I go, Well, they go upstairs before when they tell them not to.
Yeah.
And they find a dollhouse that's just like their house. In this house. Yeah. And then Webb is looking at through a keyhole, and he thinks he sees a young girl. Mm-hmm. And then he pretends that he's going outside on the swings when the adults go in to have coffee in the kitchen.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah. And
a little devious.
Yes. He finds this trap door.
If you were a little kid, right, and you are bad situation, you're now living with a family that's a new family, but you move into this giant house with a big backyard, and then there's secret doors and panels in the house.
Yeah.
This is a dream come true.
Yeah, I know. And so then he's in the basement, and he then goes up the step ladder that goes all the way up to the daughter's room, and then it's not her, it's a doll.
Right.
But he can't get out. He's locked in there.
Yeah.
So they figure out where he is, and they find him, and they let him out. But
yeah,
it's kind of a weird, creepy introduction to them. And then we find out that their daughter has ran away 5 years prior.
Yeah, well, we'll learn more about that as the show goes on, as we know. That's a good one. I like the fact that the show is it shows you how fun it can be to be a kid, and I don't feel like it's shaking its finger. It rewards kids' curiosity, but it also says, be careful. Just be careful when you're crawling through that passageway in that weird townhouse in Chicago. My number 2 is episode 26, kind of an earlier one, Knock Knock. This is like one where it could have gone really wrong, but I felt like they approached it really sensitively, and that's why it's like important. This is the one, of course, where Webster and his little friend see each other naked.
Right.
And it's this show tackles arson, it tackles drug use, and it tackles they're going to try to tear down the Trocadero every other week. There's always these things that are problems, but it always attacks them with that warmth and understanding. And you've got this thing that is totally innocent, but Katherine has to now explain to his friend's mother, it's totally honest. It's fine. She doesn't want Webster to get a bad reputation. And it's like with this thing that's like, oh boy. I mean, it could happen to anybody.
It really could.
But the way that they deal with it could have got salacious. This isn't Different Strokes here. Okay, this is Webster. This is Webster.
Yes.
So that was a good one for me. What about you? This is your number 1.
My number 1 is In the Family Way, parts 1 and 2, season 2, episodes 18 and 19.
Yeah.
This is when Katherine gets pregnant, and she at first isn't sure if she wants it. She's thinking about abortion.
It's a show that deals with abortion.
Yeah.
Take that, Family Ties.
And then she decides that she really does want it, and then she ends up losing the baby.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking.
And this is after Webster has, in previous episodes, asked them if they can order a new brother or sister for him.
Right.
He doesn't quite get it.
No.
But, yeah.
And at first he's super excited about it, and then he talks to another kid who has younger siblings, and she's like, forget it. When they get a new kid, it's all about that new kid.
Yeah.
So then he doesn't want the baby, and then when she's having trouble and she feels like she's losing her baby, Webb thinks it's all his fault.
Yep.
And it's just heartbreaking. It's you didn't cause this.
He's a bleeding heart, though.
Yeah,
That's
he is.
one of the reasons that we love him so much.
Yeah, he's so empathetic.
Yeah. My number 1, this is a personal one for me, and honestly, it's not that special of an episode.
Okay.
It's just personal for me, is episode number 80, the Derby, when George and Webster do the Pinewood Derby thing. And it reminds me, I did a Pinewood Derby with my dad, too. And just like George did with Webb, and in the show, George is he's a man's man. He's a dude. He played football for many years. He likes cars and he likes working with his hands. So he knows what he has to do to make this car, and he's going to make it perfectly. They're going to, balance it and get the aerodynamics right.
Right.
And it just frustrates Webster. He just kind of gets sick of it, and eventually by the end of the episode, he just builds his own, and it's what you would expect a car made by a 7-year-old,
young child
an 8-year-old
to look
would
like.
be.
Yeah.
It's crappy, but it's his.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah.
And I did a Pinewood Derby with my dad, when I was younger. And there are people who are super enthusiasts. They buff it out, and they've got I don't know, glowing lights on it and things, and shiny chrome paint jobs and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but my dad took my design ideas, and we just took a miter box and just made it very simply as kind of blocky kind of car. And I won. I won first place.
That's awesome.
I beat 20 other guys.
That's so cool.
Car. Yeah, first time out. So it's just, it's that kind of thing. It's that feeling that you get from Webster, of family. And that's just what it reminds
Togetherness.
me of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got the family, of course, the Papadopouloses, but there's been so many great guest stars on the show who have been on, from Ben Vereen, of course. Over and over again, seeing him, Diane Carroll, and the Jets, the Four Tops. A lot of musical acts. A lot of musical acts in this, yeah. And sports stars like JoJo Starbuck and Patrick Ewing, and a lot of great stars. Ron Reagan. Remember Ron Reagan came on? Which, I don't know. I think Ron Reagan's too hot to be on a show these days. I'm not sure that he would be on anything.
Right.
But why did Nancy never come by?
I have no idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Webster was never... That's what's so great about Webster, is that their messages are so much more subtler than just say no.
Right.
You have Nancy show up on, I don't know, Growing Pains or something like that because Boner is, doing rails or something, and they got to get him out of there.
Right.
I feel like Webster is an anti-drug. He would never do this.
Right.
But he could run into Nancy Reagan on a campaign stop in
Sure,
Chicago or something
absolutely.
like that. If the show had continued for at least one more season, what guest do you think would have been on the show?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I don't know. Like, their parent company is Paramount, so maybe somebody else who has like a Paramount connection, like maybe from their films or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of any like specific examples. Well, I mean, different network, but similar premise. I mean, what if like Different Strokes? What if they like had like a crossover with Webster? Do you think that's a bad idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
too similar.
Inferior, yeah. It's come on. I mean, Webster perfected the Different Strokes formula.
No, you're right.
If anything at all.
You're right.
I was thinking there is that episode where Webster, the family gets the signed Mike Tyson boxing gloves.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So I was thinking, Webster
Meets Mike Tyson.
Well, Webster smudges the autograph, and of course George is
right.
upset about that. But
Yeah.
maybe we could have him. It'd have to be fast. Have to be a fast turnaround because it was right around 1991 where Mike Tyson was getting in trouble. But if we did a fast turnaround on this, and
Yes.
in the mid-90s, at the height of his powers, we have Mike Tyson come on, meet Webster, learn a lesson from Webster, and vice versa, and then here you go, kid, and he signs him like a new thing of here's some gloves.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be like pre his sandwich making days, right?
Are you talking about George Foreman?
Oh crap!
Not
Yeah,
a
I
boxer.
am.
Not a boxing fan. That's okay. George
Sorry.
Foreman. George Foreman would have been perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yes.
He could bring George Foreman's, let's see, I think he was at 1, 2, and 3 at that point. So they could come on and play with Webster. I think that they would probably bully Webster. There's kind of a long history of Webster. And this is maybe the one thing that I had a complaint about. I'd love to see Webster's just so open, and like
Yes.
friendly. You think that would work for him, but maybe it's a sitcom trope. But he always seems to be running into kids, and the first instinct for those kids is, here's a little kid. He's very small and
Right.
young, so we can get his lunch money, or we can, push him around or something.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, when Webster does win out. So I guess we need a plot for the episode, but and turns it around and they're friends. But I kind of feel like if George Foreman was friends with George Papadopoulos,
Sure,
they're going to hang
the
out.
Georges.
They're going to have a beer in the backyard.
Yeah.
Then Webster gets to meet George 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
and they they play a little rough.
I can see
we
that.
could see a lesson about about not playing so rough.
Right. And
Webster
being
has to
more
run and hide in
accepting.
the staircase secret compartment to get away from them, But then he turns the tables on him,
Yes.
maybe in a pre-Home Alone kind
I
of
was
way.
thinking that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Anybody else that you would want to see? Any recording stars? I mean, he was such good friends with Michael Jackson.
I
I'm
was just
amazed
thinking that.
Jackson was never on.
I was just thinking that. I don't know. Maybe Michael's sister Janet.
Oh,
maybe
Janet
she
Jackson,
could come on.
Of course, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. And then they could jam together and dance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Them dancing together
Would be
Of
great.
course.
Yeah.
That's something else. Like people don't. I wish I was more musical. I do a musical podcast all about Janet Jackson. People don't understand. Like you try to tell kids these days about Janet Jackson.
How big Janet Jackson
She
was.
was Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, and
Beyonce?
Lorde, and Queen Bee. I don't know. Close. Combined, she was all of those things.
Yeah.
It was all
she
we
was.
had.
Yeah.
If you didn't like Madonna.
Exactly.
But we do, though. I want to give a shout-out, as always, on this episode, our last shout-out to Lakevius Lacey on YouTube, who has many, many episodes of Webster up on her YouTube account, if you want to go check them out. And she's also got a ton of episodes of other great sitcoms from the era, like Amen, 227, Benson. Check them out. And before we get to today's episode, it's time to answer last week's trivia question.
Yes.
Brought to you, of course, by Shout Factory. Shout Factory, purveyors of wonderful classic DVD compilations. The first 4 seasons of Webster available now on DVD from Shout Factory. There's a link in the show notes if you want to pick those up on Amazon. I love mine. I watch those
Absolutely.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still fingers crossed that the 2 syndicated seasons will come to DVD.
Yes.
I know it's a little different, the way the rights work and everything. I know they're working on it.
Yeah.
And the last 2 seasons, not as strong as the ABC
No,
years.
they're not.
The
I
syndicated
mean,
seasons.
as the ratings will tell
They
you.
were trying some things,
Yeah.
but it's fun. They still give you that Webster glow, and they are totally worth owning. So check them out on Amazon. Now to the trivia question. This is a tough one. This is one of our toughest questions.
Yes.
The question, of course, was in episode 27, Burnout, Webster accidentally burns the apartment down, but George braves the fires to retrieve Webster's mementos of his parents. Family lost everything. Katherine is particularly sad she lost her phone book. What does George mention that he lost? That was the question.
Oh.
Did you know what the answer was?
I know what the answer is.
Okay, right. Don't say anything.
Okay.
And we will reveal right now that superfan Melba Sweeney got the right answer. The answer, of course, was his fishing cap. His fishing cap with the bass
red
bug and the red
feather.
feather.
Yep.
Exactly. And Melba is the only one that got it right. She's a friend of the show and host of her own podcast, Casting with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
A great show. You got to check that out. For getting the correct answer, Melba wins the grand prize. This is the best prize we've ever given out.
Yeah.
I'm a little sorry to see it go. An original 7-inch single of City Connection.
Oh, nice.
Emmanuel Lewis's hit song in the original Japanese.
Oh.
This is an import. Yes. I can't really understand what he's saying.
I can't either.
In the song.
And
This
I know
isn't
a
the
little.
Gung Ho podcast.
I know a little bit of Japanese, but I can't tell.
Right,
what he's
yeah,
saying.
but there is an English version. But this is the original Japanese. It's a collector's
Yes.
item.
Yes.
And like I said, it's tough for me to part with it. I feel like the Papadopouloses felt in episode 131, Sail Away.
Yeah.
When they were going through all the things for the garage sale.
Yeah.
They were remembering all the good times.
Exactly.
That they had related to their stuff. But Melba has earned it. Great job, Melba. Send us your address so we can send you your record. Well, that was the last trivia question.
Oh my gosh.
We're going through all these
I
lasts.
can't believe it.
I know, I'm getting a little emotional here. I can't believe that we finally made it to the last episode of Webster.
I know.
We got to go through with it.
Yeah.
We got to make that tough choice.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, like Webster often has to do. Mm-hmm. Just like when Webster had to read his composition in front of the whole class in episode 21.
Yeah.
Dreamland. But he was getting nightmares over it.
Yes.
But eventually he went through it. And we have to go through it. Our nightmares here. It's our last show and the last episode. Episode 150, titled Webtrek. First aired on the 10th of March, 1989. Now, Webtrek. We haven't seen the episode yet.
No, we haven't.
What do you think Webtrek's about?
Gosh, I don't know. I think maybe Webster goes on some sort of journey. And
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like the time that he ran that 6K and he just had to like finish
I
it.
was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he goes on some sort of transformational journey and maybe we'll get a flash of like Webster in the future or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if you like in high school or maybe seeing him in college.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be great to see him a little bit in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's gonna see. I don't want to take this is kind of stealing your thing, but take it and run with it. Like George is such a sportsman.
Yeah.
The plots in 6, they're getting a little more. I don't want to say ridiculous, but a little more outsized.
They're a little more out there.
They love to do these, big event episodes for the end of a season. That's the end of the show. Maybe they go on a dog mush. Maybe they go on like a Iditarod type thing. They're going to take a trek. They're going to go out here with some dogs, and this will just be shot, up on Mount Shasta or whatever.
Right.
Like you can find California's great. There's a biome, every 10 steps.
Yes.
So we'll take it up to the mountains, a little bit of snow, and Webster will, get lost because he's trying to find one of the dogs maybe that got lost. And
right.
now George has to get the rescue guys in with a helicopter, and Katherine, who we remember is very scared of helicopters.
Yes.
From the first episodes of season 4 when they go to San Francisco.
Yes.
She gets over that fear. She forgets all about it because she's trying to find Webster in this,
I like
rescue copter.
Yeah.
That's just a guess. I don't really know. Well, anyway, it's time for us to leap without taking a look one last time. We're going to watch Webtrek. We'll be right back with our thoughts. Until then, we'll leave you with the groovy strains of the Japanese version of City Connection.
Yes.
And we'll be right back.
Gonna do.
What? What was that?
I don't know what I just saw.
I don't. Okay, this is bad podcasting. This is bad
I
air.
can't I
This is
can't
dead
explain.
air. Okay, all right. Okay, so episode 150 of Webster.
Yes.
It's called Webtrek. I guess we should go through a plot summary. At the beginning,
Yeah.
Webster he's playing his video game. We know he loves video games.
Yeah.
This is all in character.
Right.
It's Galaxy Man. I don't think that's a real video game,
I don't
but
think
anyway,
so
he's
either.
enjoying it. He's playing it.
Yeah.
And he's playing it in a lightning storm. So I'm thinking, oh, that tree that George is supposed to trim or have the people come and do, it'll get hit, it'll hit the house.
Right.
There'll be the lights will go out, Webster will be scared. No, that's not what happens.
No.
I guess the house gets hit by lightning and then Webster disappears. He's holding his joystick and he becomes sparkly.
Yeah, there's like all these sparkles around him.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
And what are we supposed to even think is happening here? And
I have no idea.
Well, he apparently is sitting down, and then now he's standing up and holding his broken joystick, and he is in the middle of this room. It looks like the hotel, a lobby of a hotel, a Hilton.
Yes.
And I guess it's a spaceship, and there's all these people in like pajamas.
I know.
And so now he's in the future.
They're
He's in like the 28th century or something.
They're like colorful pajamas.
Yeah, Okay. Well, anyway. Okay, I can roll with this.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy situation. Okay, we
Okay.
were in the Wild West before. That's fine.
Right.
So where are we going with this?
Right.
So this guy pulls a gun on him. I guess it looks like a dustbuster, but he's just like pointing a ray gun, I guess, at him.
Right.
Is he going to learn a lesson from this guy or something? And then this other guy comes out.
He has no idea what's going on.
This other guy comes out, and it looks like he's had massive head trauma. He's got like this scarred or like bony head.
Yeah.
And he's got like a thing like he just won the Miss America pageant.
Yes.
And he's a jerk. Like, who is he supposed to be? Suddenly he's up in Webster's grill.
He's like the fun police.
Yeah. Oh, this guy hates fun.
He absolutely, positively hates fun.
They're on a spaceship. Is this like an alien spaceship? Is this a human spaceship? I mean, we're in the future, and he hates fun. And,
yeah.
And that, guess what? Strap in. That's the rest of the episode.
I know.
This is how we go out. The last episode of Webster is him just describing fun to this weird alien with the worst teeth.
Right?
Must be a British alien.
Yeah, he must be.
I can't. I'm so bitter. I don't. Okay.
Well, and then they call Webster an intruder. Like, he asked to come there.
Yeah. And they scan him like the TSA. They say, oh, he's unarmed. Webster would never carry a gun.
No.
He knows this.
And they have, like, on their computer, they have this, like 360-degree angle, like, scan of him. Like, what are they doing with that?
I don't know what the Sunshine's were thinking. Let's just keep talking about it.
Okay.
He's talking to this alien. His name is Warp or something. And he's telling
I
him
thought
about...
it was, like, Wharf, like the San Francisco Wharf. Like... What kind of name do you have?
Is this a flashback to the San Francisco? Okay, all right. So this is, and he wakes up in the bed at the end, so it's a dream. So maybe this is like, but what's wrong with his forehead?
I don't know.
Is he a tuna or something?
Did he have like
that?
massive head trauma? Like
all right,
you said?
So anyway, this guy Worf is telling him that fun is they're in a gravitational pull. Look, I'm not a sci-fi guy.
No.
This stuff.
Why would you be?
It just sounds like babble to me.
It
just goes
does.
over my head.
Gobbledygook.
But he's telling him that all these wacky doodle ideas that they're stuck in a thing, and so Webster wants to know if he can get home. And I guess to pass the time, he's going to explain his culture to him. So he gets some really good jabs in there. He's talking about like mud wrestling and everything, and he's talking about like, and the guy just over his huge head. This guy doesn't understand it at all. Webster's doing a little dancing for him. Apparently, in the future, dancing's outlawed. So I guess
apparently
John Lithgow from Footloose is now the God Emperor. There's no more dancing and all.
Right.
It just doesn't sound like a very good.
Well, like
it's a bleak future, is what I'm saying.
It is. Like
I mean, even if Webster, God forbid, would go on this long, is this his future? He can't dance?
I know.
We're going to see Robo Ben Vereen come in and be like, I've been programmed to not dance or smile.
Yeah, maybe. Which is like a terrible fate. But like this weird alien guy says that dancing is like often a prelude to violence.
Yeah, apparently this guy
The guy comes back with a little gun thing and is like right on Webster.
Yeah, he puts it right in his ribs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that would do, but it would definitely burn him.
Is he like racial profiling in the future?
Well, the guy's black.
I guess.
But if he's a black alien,
yeah,
maybe he's profiling black humans.
Maybe.
And that's historically bad.
Yeah, it is definitely bad.
So they go on, and basically this is, a clip show.
It is a clip show, but we had a clip show last week.
Yeah, I enjoy Webster clip shows. Every time we get to see these moments again is great. I thought there would be some kind of framing device. Where are the Papadopouloses?
They're not in this episode at all, except in the flashbacks.
They're not to be even seen.
Yeah.
I guess in the future they're dead.
I guess.
I mean, everybody is. Like, Jerry's dead, everybody's dead, right?
Yeah. They said it was like 300 years in the future or something like that.
I didn't even keep track. So anyway, speaking of San Francisco, we do get to see the flashback of them taking the helicopter tour of San Francisco, which I think you're right. I think that's where the wharf thing comes from.
Right?
And they go and they see the Presidio and they see everything in San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge. There's that great scene when they fly under the bridge.
Right.
One of the only good scenes in this episode. And yeah, I mean, Webster feels like he's out of place, in this future time. And so how are we going to get him back?
Exactly.
We also flash back to, we see him dancing with, this is Ben Vereen. This is before he's Uncle Philip.
Yeah.
A little confusing.
Yeah.
That great number that they do with each other and Chicago, my kind of town. And then after that, it just seems like, pardon my French, it seems like jerking off.
Well, yeah, okay? It does.
We're just on this future ship. We see a couple shots of it from the outside. It's such a weird. It looks like a swan or something like that. It's such a weird. It doesn't look like a spaceship. Like,
no, it doesn't. It's just oddly shaped,
like a rocket ship, right?
Yeah. It just, the whole thing is like foreign to me. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they would do this for the last episode of Webster, like, ever.
They even show you mentioned it before, when they do the 10K for the Papadopoulos Foundation. You put that in there too. It's like they're taunting us. It's like they're teasing us by reminding us of these great moments of the show. And we flash back to, I guess he is a robot in the future now. Oh, hopefully he can go home.
Yeah, I know.
And let's talk about this main character that he interfaces with, this wolf guy.
Yeah.
He's like played by this actor Michael Dorn. I don't know this guy. I think he's done stage work or something.
Right.
Is he? I mean, he is under all that makeup. I mean, he is an African American actor.
Yes.
Are they trying to set? Is this a backdoor pilot? Are they trying to, like, the cabin? Are they trying to set this up? Like he's the kind of Ben Vereen character that Webster's going to connect with in this future time if we go back here.
Oh my God!
Because I mean, clearly he needs to learn how to have fun.
Well, clearly
he just wants to do courtship rituals or something like that. And it's like, have some fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
But this guy just stands there.
He's just like anti-fun.
Yeah,
like anti everything. Webster.
Yeah, he's stiff as a board.
He really is.
I mean, I guess I could see. Well, it would be a whole season arc, but have Webster kind of soften this guy up.
I think that's what he's attempting to do in this episode, by telling him about like these great memories that he had of things of fun.
Yeah, and it doesn't even make any sense because this Worf guy, like, the whole time he has no idea what Webster's talking about, and then apparently yada yada yada, the magical science thing is fixed, and they can, I guess, they can sparkle him back to where he has to be. And so at that point, suddenly Wolf is like, oh, you got to click your heels together or something. And it's like, wait a minute, what? So
why are we?
Does he know the Wizard of Oz?
I know.
Like, is he a big fan of William Jennings Bryan? Like, I don't understand why suddenly
or Bomb?
He can. Yeah, I don't. There's no consistency.
No, it's really frustrating, and I don't understand. Like, do you know, quote unquote, Earth culture or not?
Yeah. Where's George? Where's Ma'am? Where are the Four Tops?
Where's Jerry?
I could barely believe that this is an episode. Yeah. Imagine if Jerry had come along, he would have got hit with a ray gun. He would have been causing trouble.
He's always
one of those guys in the pajamas would have zapped him.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
He would have been okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to get dark and
kill
disintegrate
Jerry.
Jerry. Yeah,
No.
that would not be good. But,
No.
Yeah, but instead it's just Emmanuel Lewis, and he is just. You can see the sweat coming down. He is just working his ass off.
He's tap dancing.
He is vamping. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, he even to illustrate fun, he talks about the time his Little League game was not going well because of his pitching.
Yeah, that was a rough episode.
How is that fun? But he's it was the challenge, and then the wolf guy was oh, I understand challenge.
I think all he could do was just try to, because he's
Connect?
intuitive, he's trying to engage this guy. He could have easily told him about the time that, he let the puppy lick his face or whatever.
Right.
Or the malts that they had at the Trocadero. But instead he's just I got to connect with this guy. This guy would understand, wanting to destroy your enemies in some kind of competition like baseball. So I've got to, reach out to this guy somehow.
Yes.
But it just goes right. I don't know how it does. The guy's head is 10 feet tall.
I know,
it
right?
goes right over it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just trying to think of other. I'm trying to think of other shows that have these endings that are just crazy and out
Yes,
there. And
yes.
this is worse than when they blew up Walnut Grove at the end of Little House.
Yeah,
which up to this point, for me, was the craziest TV finale of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They blow up the whole town.
I know.
This is the Webster equivalent. They're blowing up the whole town. They're blowing up the Webster town.
What about, wasn't it the soap opera where the kid has the snow globe at the end?
Saying Elsewhere.
Yes.
That would make more sense.
Yes.
Webster wakes up at the end of this. I think we're given to understand that it is a quote unquote dream, and yet his joystick, his Galaxy Man joystick, is fixed. And attached to it is a tag that says inspected by number 6, Starship Enterprise.
Which I think is what...
Yeah, that's the Swan.
Yeah.
So it's are these intergalactic future Geek Squad repair guys or something like that? Why are they even?
I have no idea, but we are given to believe that this was not just a dream; that this actually happened.
I would have taken just Poochie dying on the way back to his planet. You know? I would have taken a quantum leap. I would have taken Samuel Beckett never got home.
Right.
I would have taken something like that.
Yeah.
But instead, they take it and they twist it like this. It's kind of a snow globe thing because it's a dream, but it's also kind of real.
But it
so
is
what
real.
is it?
I know. And
or just, you know what? What if terrorists get a dirty bomb and they blow up Chicago? We'll just do a dinosaurs on this.
Oh my gosh.
We'll just do it at Label Made at ABC.
Right.
Everybody dies. Ha ha ha. That's how I feel right now.
Well, I know. And we don't even see the Papadopouloses in the end of this. It's not even when Webster wakes up from his dream, they come running in and being Webster, are you okay?
How'd they get the water out of the basement?
I have no idea.
None of it. I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything else to say?
I'm disappointed. I feel betrayed.
Yeah. I don't know what the Sunshines were smoking. This is against the spirit of Webster.
I feel like it is, and
there are no consequences when you can just sparkle somebody up and you sparkle them down, and if you break a joystick, then you have to hide it from Ma'am, and eventually she's going to find out, and you're going to learn a lesson about the fact that you need to be honest about when you break things.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Instead, we're talking to Forehead Guy about who knows what. He doesn't know what baseball is.
No.
It's over.
What is the moral of the story? What is Webster trying to tell us?
Don't play a video game in a lightning storm.
I guess. I
can't believe that.
This is the last episode.
I know. I don't.
Why would they do this?
I don't know.
I
don't know. I think we need to. Let's just wrap it up.
Okay.
Look, I don't know if I don't know if I can keep doing this after this. I mean, we talked about it before. To announce our next project, Give us a break, where we watch all 6 seasons of the Nell Carter sitcom. Give me a break. But what's even the point now? We'll just get to season 6, and they'll just reveal in the last episode that Nell's really from Atlantis, and the whole thing's been underwater the entire time.
I know, right?
Joey Lawrence can't even swim. We know this,
right?
I don't know.
I'm also really upset about this.
Yeah. Well, we've got the years that we had.
Yeah, we do, and we have
led up to nothing.
We have all of those wonderful, warm, empathetic stories that Webster has brought us.
Yeah, they don't feel so warm now.
No, it feels kind
knowing
of
that you can be sparkled to the future
at any
snap
given time
with a snap of a hat. Yeah.
because there's lightning outside your house.
Yeah, careful. I'm terrified of lightning.
I know.
I don't know. Look, just maybe we'll be back. Watch this space. I guess maybe I'll just stop watching TV forever because everything is a lie.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I apologize. Well, that's it, I guess, for good. Webtrek. You can find it on Lakevious Lacey's YouTube or on Google Play if you really want to watch this.
Yeah.
We're signing off for now. This is the Podpadopoulos cast saying... Ah!